Check us out to hear the latest on life in the volunteer state. Yvonnca and her guests discuss everything from life, love, and business with a Tennessee flair.
It's a Tennessee thing.
Always relatable, always relevant, and always a good time. This is Talking Tennessee, and now your host, Yvonnca.
This episode is brought to you by the Landes team, your go-to real estate family in East Tennessee. If you are looking to buy or sell, we are the ones you should call. Give us a call at 865-660-1186 or check out our website at YvoncaSellsRealEstate.com. That's Yvonnca, YVONNCA, sellsrealestate.com.
Welcome back to Talking Tennessee with Yvonnca. I am your host, and I'm here with a dear friend, Ann Furrow. Welcome to Talking Tennessee.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. Viewers, let me just say, I'm fanning out on this one because this person has done so much in her life, and she's paved the way for so many women and men. That when you agreed to accept the invitation, I'll never forget hanging up, and I was like, yes. I really wanted to talk to somebody that has inspired me from afar, and that I've always just like, what would she be like? What would she say to me? So thank you so much for coming to Talking Tennessee.
Well, it's my joy, my pleasure.
So who is Ann Furrow? Who is that person?
Well, I have been a very, very fortunate person because my life has been so blessed and so bountiful and so wonderful. I can't tell you how blessed I have been. God has been really good to me.
I know that you are a woman of faith, and you pride yourself in philanthropy, building up your community, making a difference. Let's start from the beginning. What was it like living and growing up in Maryville?
That's a little bit of heaven, and it still is a wonderful community. I know you know that.
Yes, I love Maryville.
But everybody, because of the plant, now everybody was pretty equal. Great school systems because everybody was upwardly mobile and wanting to better their lives. And the community was so supportive of me in everything that I did. Great teachers. It was just an unbelievable place to grow up.
So you grew up, and let's talk about, your mom. What did your mom inspire in you at a very young age of just where you needed to go? What did you need to do?
Well, my mother was the math teacher, algebra teacher at the high school.
Okay.
Very demanding.
Okay.
High expectations of everyone. Our kids would go to MIT and Duke and Vanderbilt. I mean, that's where they were encouraged to go. And she was there to support them. I tell a lot of people when she died, well, she died going into my senior year of high school.
I was about to say, how old were you when you lost your mom?
Just turned 17.
17.
Yeah.
Well, let me say this, viewers. When I met Miss Ann, we had a conversation. We were just talking, and she told me about losing her mom, and that was one of the things that connected me to her, because I lost my mom at a very young age, not as young as you, but losing your mom, it can either build you strong, or you can truly go through some things that hold you back. And it sounded like that you got some things from your mom before she died that helped build you as a woman. Can you talk about those?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I told you this story because I thought it was so wonderful. When she died, an anonymous student, wrote a letter to the editor, and the letter to the editor was entitled Battling Belle. Her name's Belle Baker.
Okay.
And found out a little bit later who wrote that letter to the editor was Lamar Alexander.
Oh wow.
Our governor, senator, and all like that. My mother really was an encourager of him, and but just battling Belle, and I guess I kind of inherited some of those traits.
Yes.
I don't know.
So did she talk about, hey, I mean, of course she talked about your education and, having a strong education. Did she talk about community with you?
Well, she participated. I mean, she really was involved and encouraged the kids so much, and I saw it. I just saw it. It was an innate thing for me when Sam and I got married and was involved, is to participate in your community. And I've been so blessed that I've had so many doors opened that I could be involved.
Yes.
And so.
Well, then your mom taught you well, because viewers, you're about to hear a story that's unbelievable. The next question is, who and what inspired you to start playing golf at 9 years old?
Well, I grew up in a neighborhood of boys.
Okay.
And I think this is really important for people know this, but I played with boys all the time. Everything, tennis, basketball, ping pong, croquet, anything you could compete in, we competed from early morning to late at night. They gave me no advantage. Most of the boys were a little bit older than I was, and I really would get offended. There were a couple of boys a year younger than I was.
Yes.
They gave them an advantage, but they would not give me any advantage. Anyway,
I think I told you I grew up in Harriman, Tennessee,
Yeah.
and there was a park. The park is named after my grandfather now, but back then it wasn't. And we would go up to the park every day.
Oh, yeah.
And my mom and dad would say, "Don't let the street light catch you. You better be home before dark." And so we were like you. We played, basketball, every sport you could think of, softball, everything in the park. And the boys, yes, I played basketball with boys. I think that's what really conditioned my body, because if you think about it, you're trying to beat these boys because you don't want it to say, "Oh, well, that's just a girl playing," that type thing. But when you were 9 years old, you decided to be a golfer.
well, what happened was the boys went off to play Little League, and
Okay.
guess what?
You didn't have anything to do.
I couldn't play Little League. I was a
Right.
girl.
Yes.
And if you've talked to Joan Cronin, she said that's when she really got into sports.
Yes.
I mean, knowing I'm going to make a difference in women's athletics.
Yes, most
But,
definitely.
Yeah, and my dad was a weekend golfer, not very good.
Okay.
I pulled his golf cart a few times, and then he bought me a sawed-off driver, and I started playing. And by 10, I'd won the 9-hole women's tournament. And by 11, I was playing in the Knox area and the state and women's. I played no junior things except the National Junior and the Western Junior. Other than that, everything
So
I
you
played
just
was
fell in
women.
love with golf.
Well, I was good at it.
Okay.
And I love competition. And
Yes.
it gave me something to do. And
I hear people say, not to teach your kids competition, and I don't agree with that, because there's competition in the world.
in everything.
In everything you do, and yes, I do get when people say, it shouldn't be all about competition, but you have to teach your kids how to compete, because in jobs, in everything we do, there is competition. And so at 9 years old, you decided, okay, you wanted to play golf, you wanted to compete, you wanted to achieve, and you kept achieving year after year.
Yeah, I don't know that I wanted to achieve.
Mhm.
I just wanted to do well.
Okay.
My goal has always been to do the very best I can do. And so it was never, oh gosh, I'm gonna go win this or that or whatever. It really wasn't until, let me think, if there were some tournaments I wanted to. There was, I could tell you that story later.
Go ahead, tell
No,
us.
it's later on, a little
Yes,
bit later on. But
I'll tell you that I was always taught in school and out of school, especially with my grandfather being an educator, and he was the very first black principal in Harriman, and so he taught a lot of people, and the stakes was high, because me being his granddaughter, it was like everybody was looking at me and my brother and sister, and every flaw they pointed out. But the biggest thing my grandfather taught me was do everything in excellence.
Absolutely.
He said, do not worry about accomplishments, do not worry about accolades, don't worry about any of those things.
They'll come.
He said, those things will come. He said, but you should never do anything
less than your best.
less than your best. And everything that I do, I teach my kids that is know that you did your best, and you know what? And let the rocks fall,
That's right.
that type thing.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through the journey of playing local to earning a full golf scholarship?
Well, again, I told you God has blessed my life.
Yes.
It's unbelievable. I had won, at 16, I won the women's state. I won the National Western Juniors.
At 16?
Yeah. At 17, I was expected to, I was one of the top juniors in the country. one top 2 or 3, something like that, expected to win the national junior. And my mother died in July, before the tournament in August. And it's the first time my dad had ever gone with me to tournaments. I've always had, the women in Knoxville were fabulous, and Maryville were just fabulous to me. Okay. And they, shepherded me and took me in and were nice to me. That wasn't always the case. All my junior friends said, "Oh, those women are really ugly to me." No, the women were just
really nice to you.
Nice to me. But so my dad and I went up to Buffalo, New York for the national junior. I was expected to win. I lost in the first round. I was disappointed.
Yeah, I bet you was.
And the next,
was you in shock? Probably?
Well, I don't remember that. I just know I was so mad and so angry that I had let Maryville down. I'd let my friends down. I'd let people down. And the next week was the national amateur, where it was the top women's amateur tournament in the world. They came from all over. Well, by darn, I said, nobody's going to beat me. And
after you had that loss, you said nobody's going to beat me.
That's what I did. And I had this seat that I had with me that I can still feel it. It was very slow play. And so I would walk down the fairway with that seat that, you could stick in the ground, that you'd open up and rest when you're having to wait. And I'd walk down that fairway and say, nobody's going to beat me. Nobody's going to beat me. Nobody.
So you talked yourself through, you spoke affirmations in yourself, and nobody was going to beat you.
Well, it kept me focused. And then I was runner-up in the national amateur to Joanne Carner, Big Mama. Big Mama won the national amateur 5 times in a row, turned pro, was a Hall of Famer. Fabulous golfer. And because of that, I was the #1 junior in the country and the 10th woman in the country. And the SEC had just passed a rule saying women in 1962, they passed a rule saying women could play varsity men's sports, no contact, but varsity tennis, tennis, golf, maybe swimming, I don't know, but no contact. Well, I'm from Maryville. The newspapers had been so good to me. I mean, they had promoted the heck out. They don't promote individuals now much, unless you play football or basketball,
correct?
Maybe a little softball. But I was promoted big. Well, #1 junior golfer in the country, living right here, and UT offered me a full athletic men's scholarship, 4 years.
Let's talk about that. That was going to be my next thing. Is tell me what that was like when you got your letter saying you got a full scholarship.
Well, what happened was Bowden Wyatt, who was from Kingston, Tennessee, actually it was.
My neck of the woods.
Yeah, was the acting athletic director. He'd been the head football coach. And he's one that called me up and said, "Ann, we'd like to meet you at Dean Hill Country Club." And I don't know that they told me they were going to give me a full scholarship. Maybe they did, but they said, "We'd like to talk to you."
Okay.
And because my mother had just died, that gave me a wonderful opportunity to stay home near my father.
Okay.
And you did not have, being the #1 junior in the country, you had no opportunity. Girls, I know I say this all the time, girls now have no idea what it was like back in my day.
Yes, I agree.
I would have a full ride to every school in the country now if I was the #1 junior.
And I do agree with you when it comes to a lot of girls of today do not realize how hard that was back then.
Well, girls weren't given the opportunity.
I agree.
There were no women's athletics department. There was no Title IX. There was nothing. But I got this little bone that said, well, I could play on the men's golf team if I wanted to.
Yes.
Or, on scholarship. Well, anyway, that only lasted 2 years. The SEC passed a rule saying women could not play varsity men's sports. Those of us already on scholarship or already involved could finish out our eligibility. So
so you got to finish it.
I represented UT in other things, but not in competition after my sophomore year. And I made the freshman team, I was 3rd person. Varsity team, I was like 7th or 8th person. And, I don't know what I would have been, but you know what? God is so good. He gave me the opportunity to be involved in the time, to be involved in the campus at UT, and I was heavily involved in things at UT and sorority and government, student government and all. So I had it best both ways.
Most definitely. You lost your mom at a young age, but the community, your dad, and different people, rallied around you to
Yes.
get you through it.
Yeah.
So let's bring marriage in it.
Marriage. Okay, well.
So when did you and Sam, tell us how
Well,
y'all met, tell us how you got married, tell us it all.
I told you I was very active, very involved. I was sweetheart of Phi Delta Theta fraternity at UT.
Okay.
Sam started Phi Delta Theta fraternity. He's 3.5 years older than I am. He's bond number 1. He started Phi Delta at UT. I had class every morning at 8 o'clock, a calculus class, advanced calculus, 5 days a week with Andy Holt Jr. or Andy Holt.
And I go in his building a lot.
Yeah, well, his dad's building.
Yes, his
yeah,
dad's building.
And so Andy and I got to know each other well, and he, when I was a sophomore, said, would you be sweetheart of, he was a Phi Delta.
Okay.
He had pledged Phi Delta. And he said, would you be sweetheart of Phi Delta? And I said, well, yeah, that sounds nice. I'll do that. And I loved it. I had a great time. I loved it. Sam was in the service, came back, was working with his father in Sweetwater.
Sweetwater.
Yeah, that's where his father
That's where
lived.
my dad was from.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Most definitely. See,
Well,
I told you we got a lot of connections.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Anyway, he was advisor to the fraternity, so on Monday nights or whatever, he would come out and advise the fraternity. One day I had lunch with him at the house, and about a month later, one of the guys said, oh, it was time for me to give up being sweetheart. And he said, well, who would you like to take you to the formal? And I said, well, Sammy Joe Furrow would be nice. And his legal name was Sammy Joe Furrow.
Okay.
And it's another story I'll tell you. But so he called me up, and
So you got to pick the person that would take you.
that would take me. And
Did you what made you pick?
Well, I'd had
Mr.
lunch
Sam?
with him. I'd only
Oh,
had
okay.
lunch with him. I missed that little part.
Okay.
I'd had lunch with him one day.
Okay.
And so I thought he'd be, and I knew him. He was very well respected on campus. He was cadet colonel, scared being. He just was a leader on campus and a good guy.
At a very young age.
And so he called and said, would you go out to dinner before the formal? I said, sure, that'd be great. Went out to dinner, and he bought the couple next to us. I kind of knew the couple. It was their anniversary. He bought their dinner for them. I thought, well, that's a generous guy. That's a nice guy. And I went back in the dorm that night, told my roommate, I'd lived with her for 3 years. She'd gone through everything with me. And I said, that's who I'm going to marry.
Really?
And we went out every night from then until we got married.
So y'all went on 2 dates.
Well, we had one quick little lunch and then went out to dinner.
With the couple.
No, they just happened to be sitting next to us.
Oh, they were sitting
We were
beside-
Rigas. He didn't
Okay.
even know them.
Yeah.
They were my friends. Guy Ray Henderson from Maryville, Tennessee.
And you knew that was going to be your husband.
I said immediately to my roommate, I said, that's who I'm going to marry. He must have felt the same way, because we went out every night and I graduated early. I graduated in March, and we got married the next April. So I got married at 21. I was 21.
At 21 years old,
Yeah.
you had went through playing golf, graduating from University of Tennessee, and now you're married.
Yeah.
What was it like starting out at that young age?
Sam was in law school. When we met, 2 weeks after we met, he said, I'm gonna go to law school. And he happened to know the dean of the law school, and he got into law school.
Yes, he got in.
Yeah, he played basketball with the dean's son. And so he got in law school, so he was in law school, and I was gonna go to work. And when I was a senior, I think you'll appreciate this, we'd met, and he said, what am I gonna do? I was a math major once I met him, I dropped advanced something, I was gonna fail it, so anyway.
He said, let me drop it real quick.
Yeah, drop it real quick so I don't fail it. Anyway, just one day Sam said, well, have you thought about real estate? And I thought, well, that'd be something I could do using my contacts, people I knew in the area. Gives me freedom to do what I want to do. I don't have to sit behind a desk and all like that.
Right.
So I got my license before I graduated from from college, before I graduated.
Yeah.
And
So you got your real estate license coming out of college.
yeah,
Okay.
I already had it, and went with the firm Wallace & Wallace, great firm. Still is, but they dealt locally in kind of Squaw Hills, Westmoreland, that area, until about 2 years later. And Sam was in law school, but Sam was still working. He was still doing lots of auctions everywhere.
Okay.
And
that's where Furrow auction
he,
later on, but
well,
he was doing auctions
even in
before.
college. Oh yeah.
Wow.
In college, he was doing auctions. In law school, he was doing auctions. Really, a lot of the country, over the country.
That was smart for you to go into real estate.
Well,
knowing that you're already doing auctions.
Yeah, and I thought I could help too. It just gave me freedom to do what I wanted to do. And so we started our lives doing that. And then one day, I knew Chester Massey, and he called me up and said, Ann, I want to develop a residential area around a new golf course out in West Knoxville.
Before you tell that story, everybody, this is a big throwback to what truly happened in this subdivision. Because a lot of people don't know.
Oh, a lot of people have no idea how it was developed.
So I want people to know, listen closely. Go ahead.
Well, we went around, Chester said, would you be the broker? And I got my broker's license, and I said, yeah, that would be good. And we went around, traveled around with his daughter and all, and maybe, his wife didn't come, but looking at looking at like Quail Hollow in Charlotte, I think, or just places where you, have a residential area around a golf course. Hired a guy named Willard Bird. I walked the Fox Den when it was a farm, just farms.
Did y'all hear it? It was Fox Den.
Fox Den.
He called her to help develop it and be the broker of this development.
Yeah.
So Fox Den, for the viewers that don't know, is one of the most established subdivision in Knoxville's history. Fox Den is so well loved to this day. And what I love about Fox Den is that none of the houses look the same.
No.
None of the houses look the same, and there's character in those houses, and there's so many different amazing stories that come out of those houses.
Yeah.
Now keep going.
Well, so I think I told you as I was driving down here today, I thought, God, Fox Den was a long way down there because nobody went to Fox Den.
Yes.
And all. And so we developed it, sold lots, sold memberships. Anyway, and I stayed there probably for 3 years until I had children, and 3 or 4 years.
So she was brokering and developing Fox Den and everything else, and then children came. How many children do you have?
We just have 2. We have a daughter, Leanne Tolsma, who runs the car dealerships and all. They've been great kids.
And she's amazing.
Yeah, great kids. Well, they're not kids now. Gosh.
I think our kids will always be kids because I still call my kids. Adrienne's 31 and she's still my kid.
Yeah.
I think it just that way with moms.
Leanne is 54 and Jay's 52, so I don't think they're kids anymore. But both of them were wonderful growing up. I really never had any issues, problems, or whatever. Heavily involved in everything they did, as you I'm sure were. They were athletes, they played sports and government.
Something that you don't know, my husband and Jay played against each other. Yes, way back when.
Really?
So yes. So David was like, you got to make sure you tell her that I used to play against her son.
Yeah, he was
and he always, because David was at Farragut.
Oh yeah,
okay?
They definitely played each other.
So he was like, to be sure to tell her that. So being a mom and finding your way as, when you're a broker, you're an entrepreneur. You are self-employed, you're an entrepreneur. What was that like back then?
Well, when I got my license, there were very few women. Very few. It was Laverne Pryor, B. Corbett.
Yes.
And that may be about it. I mean, Laverne had her own office. B worked for, I think, Volunteer Realty.
She did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there just weren't many women at all. And now it's
there's a lot of women in real estate now. But I'll tell you, even when I came in it 25 years ago, it was a man's industry. It really was. And it wasn't the easiest to come into. I'll never forget one of the first deals, because I'm a hard negotiator. And so I'll never forget trying to negotiate a deal with a guy, and the gentleman literally said to me, "You really think that you're going to beat me at negotiations?" He laughs to this day because every time we see him, he goes, "You beat me at negotiations." Yeah. So, but what was that like trying to build a family and find your identity? I mean, you already had an identity in golf and in all the different sports, and then now you're in real estate. There's an identity. What was it like trying to bring all that together and balance it?
I've always said, if you're a good athlete and if you play golf well, men really treat you quite well.
That's true.
They think that you're their equal almost.
Yes.
And, well, maybe don't, but at least they make
But
me
yes.
think that.
Mhm.
But, I never had any issues with that. And then at one point, Sam said he really wanted me to stay home and not work.
So what was that like when he said, "Okay, I want you to stay home and just be a mom"?
Well, I didn't resent it, which is amazing.
Okay.
And see, Sam, I quit golf after we got married. I won the state a couple of times. I wanted to win for him, and then I
Right.
quit golf. So I was not playing golf.
That's
then.
so sweet to say. I wanted to win for him.
I did.
I know that feeling because there's things that I have accomplished. It was more to make my husband proud.
Yeah.
And I don't think people would admit that, but it's okay to.
Yeah.
You want your husband to be proud of you. Go ahead.
Well, anyway, so I had been appointed to the Board of Trustees when I was 26.
26, University
26.
of Tennessee, 26 years old. How did that happen?
That's an unbelievable story. Okay, we both were involved in politics. And
Right.
Lamar Alexander is one of our very best friends. He was in our wedding. His mother was my kindergarten teacher and nursery school teacher.
Oh, wow.
And as I'd already told you,
And your mom
taught him.
I was about to
Yeah.
say, your mom really liked
Yeah,
you.
and our families were close. And we just were always kind of involved in politics. When Winfield Dunn ran for governor, anyway, Lamar had already gone to Washington. I think he was with Bryce Harlow in the Nixon administration.
Okay.
And he then said, "I'm going to come back and run Winfield Dunn's campaign." And he asked, Sam had just graduated from law school, and he said, "Would you come over and work for me? Well, you've got some time now. Would you come over and help run the campaign?" So Sam did that. Winfield won. First Republican to win since in 150 years. Democrats always ran the
So
state.
y'all was in shock, probably.
Well, sort of, but anyway, Winfield won.
Okay.
And maybe a year went by, I don't know exactly what, and one day Sam came in with the newspaper I was still in bed, this morning newspaper, when you had morning papers and all.
Yes.
Anyway, he came in and he says, "Look, you're not gonna believe this." And there on the front page, it said, "Ann Baker Furrow to be appointed to the UT board." And I
So
went,
you didn't.
"What?"
So you didn't know.
No, I didn't. Never asked, never. A lot of people lobbied for that job.
So it ran in the paper, and that's how you found out. Oh wow.
And that afternoon, Winfield called and said, "Would I like to be a University of Tennessee trustee?" And I said, "I would be honored." That
That's
would be great."
amazing.
Yeah. And
That's a big deal.
Well, I'll tell you, you won't, anyway.
Go ahead.
I found out 5 years ago, I guess, and Winfield just died, I think, in the last year or two.
Okay.
But great guy. And there was somebody else that wanted the position that was a very prominent person.
Uh-huh.
And he drove across the state to see this person and say, "I'm not going to appoint you, I'm going to appoint Ann." And that's why he didn't call me until that afternoon, until he had done
And
it.
it already ran because he wanted to tell the other person that he was going to pick you.
I guess, I don't know, but it was in the paper. They let it go to the paper. So I went on the board at 26.
And I bet you Sam was so proud.
Well, I don't know.
Because it probably took you out of the house.
Not that much. It really wasn't that.
So how long did you serve?
Served for 18 years.
18 years.
Then Lamar, when he became governor, he reappointed me. And but I was the first woman and the youngest person ever appointed. So when everybody laughed and said, "You're going to be there with all those cigar smoking old men." Well, guess what? You're right.
Yeah.
I sat next to cigar smoking old men.
Yes.
And but again, they were very nice to me, and I never felt I think it goes back to I could beat them in golf.
Yeah. So what was it like, because nowadays you hear people talk about, a seat at the table. I want to be at the table. And this is me. I heard a gentleman say, I want to own the table. And I was like, own the table? I never heard anybody say that. And I said, I just feel like if you have a seat at the table, it's a duty to bring substance to a table that can help, make whatever successful. And it's not about what seat you have or whatever, it's just doing your part. What do you think about that?
Well, I think you just do what, I think I got appointed when I was a woman, when I was young, when I was an athlete. So I represented those areas.
Yes.
I did chair the academic affairs committee for 9 years. So that all came through my committee.
So being a woman, she's saying she knew that certain things, that her being a woman, that is a plus. So to women out there, I would say, it's okay. It doesn't matter. I'll say in my position that I'm like, okay, if the whole room is men, okay, that doesn't mean I can't be in that room.
Absolutely.
And you showed that you could hang with that same crew with the cigars and still get something done.
Yeah.
So what was that like, being on that board and making decisions? Did they ever give you a hard time on your opinion?
No.
They didn't?
No, never. I'm not I don't stir the pot a whole lot.
Right.
I go through the correct channels.
And you pick your battles.
And, you're right. And now the women's athletics, Title IX came in 72. UT had, the Board of Trustees had a committee to study women's athletics. Where did we want that to be housed? That was a big decision, huge decision. Should we be separate from the men, or should we be part of the men? And Dr. Bowling did not want the women to take any money away from the men, so we ended up being separate. Well, that was a blessing, unbelievable.
Right.
We were one of 5 Division I schools that ran their own show. We had our own athletic director, as you know, Ms.
Yes.
Cronin and Gloria Ray, fabulous.
Yes.
And we had Pat Summit, which helped a whole lot, and Terry
Most
Hull,
definitely.
who also won a national track title. But there was so much pride in the Lady Vols. And,
So much.
And I will say this, and I always say this, Dr. Bowling became one of the biggest supporters of the women's athletics
So
department.
they wanted it separated because they didn't want money to be taken away from the men.
Correct.
But they didn't realize they basically started women's athletics and starting it on a bigger platform.
Giving us control of our own destiny. Now, the men still reported to the president of the system. We reported to the chancellor of the system. The women reported to the chancellor of the system. Howard Almond was our go-to, and I can't remember who the chancellor was. But anyway, just so much support for the women. And
So viewers, do you hear how over time working and sweat equity too, sweat equity and just being in the room and trying to build up and opportunities came even when it was meaning for the bad to not let women have a portion of the money, but it really opened up so many bigger things. So that's why I will always say, God always has a plan, and no matter what man thinks it's supposed to be, God will always rise up. So tune in to part 2 of Talking Tennessee with Yvonnca next Friday with Miss Ann Furrow, my friend. Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to Talkin' Tennessee with Yvonnca. Watch out for our weekly episodes from the First Family of Real Estate, and check us out on the web, www.YvoncaSalesRealEstate.com. See our videos on Yvonca's YouTube channel, or find us on Facebook under Yvonnca Landes and Twitter @Yvonnca Landes. And don't forget to tell a friend about us. Until next time, Yvonnca signing off.